One moment changed everything. For 85 minutes, England looked calm, organised, and in complete control of their World Cup semi-final. Every tackle mattered, every clearance counted, and every player fought as if history was finally within reach. After 6 decades of heartbreak, the dream of reaching another World Cup final was only moments away. Then, in just 7 devastating minutes, everything collapsed. A 39-year-old veteran changed the course of the match. 2 perfectly delivered crosses, 2 decisive goals, and England's dream disappeared into the warm Atlanta night. Well, over the piece, a lot of heartbreak for the players. Harry has told us about that. Did the better team win over the course of the game? I don't know. But the story of this semi-final did not begin with the first whistle. It started days earlier with a refereeing appointment that immediately ignited debate across social media. Algeria lodged an official complaint. An Egyptian coach suggested the tournament was being influenced. 2 English referees were removed from the biggest assignment of their careers. And one remarkable statistic spread rapidly among England's supporters. Lionel Messi had never lost a match with this referee in charge. Not once. In this video, we'll break down everything that unfolded during the 2026 World Cup semi-final between England and Argentina. From the tactical battle and the defining turning points to the biggest moments and the controversies that dominated the headlines. By the end, you'll understand how Argentina shattered England's World Cup dream once again, and why some fans believe the foundations of this result were already being laid long before either side walked onto the pitch in Atlanta. This match represented far more than a place in the World Cup final. To understand the emotions surrounding July 15, 2026, you have to go back through decades of football history. England and Argentina share one of the fiercest rivalries the sport has ever known. This is not simply another international fixture, it is a rivalry built across generations. The story began at Wembley in 1966. During a fiery World Cup quarter-final, Argentina captain Antonio Ratin was sent off in a match overflowing with tension. I think we were deservedly up. I felt that we deserved to be up 1-0. I think the momentum changed after that. They had nothing to lose. We suddenly played like we had a lot to lose. After the final whistle, England manager Alf Ramsey described the Argentine players in words that sparked lasting resentment. Many supporters in Argentina still remember those comments today, and the bitterness never completely faded. Then came Mexico City in 1986. Only 4 years after the Falklands War, England and Argentina met again on football's biggest stage. Diego Maradona produced 2 of the most iconic goals in World Cup history within just 4 minutes. The first was the infamous Hand of God, when he punched the ball past Peter Shilton, without the officials spotting the foul. The second was a breathtaking solo run past almost the entire England defence before scoring what many still regard as the greatest World Cup goal ever. Argentina celebrated. England were left devastated. The rivalry became even more intense. In 1998, David Beckham was sent off after reacting to Diego Simeone during a round of 16 match that England eventually lost on penalties. 4 years later, Beckham found redemption by calmly converting the winning penalty in a 1-0 victory during the group stage. It finally seemed as though old scars were beginning to heal. Then, for years, the 2 football giants did not meet on the World Cup stage. But some rivalries never truly end. They simply wait for the next unforgettable chapter. For years, the World Cup draw always found a way to keep England and Argentina apart. 2 of football's biggest rivals never crossed paths on the sport's biggest stage until 2026, when destiny finally brought them together in Atlanta with a place in the World Cup final on the line. It is almost impossible to analyze this Argentina team. They look finished in every knockout game, and yet somehow they always find a way back. Even more extraordinary, Lionel Messi had never faced England at senior international level. At 39 years old, and with many believing this would be his final World Cup, he was finally about to meet England with everything at stake. The debate had already begun well before kickoff. The moment England secured their place in the semi-final, attention immediately shifted to FIFA's referee appointment. FIFA regulations prevent officials from taking charge of matches involving their own nation. Because of the long history between England and Argentina, English referees are also not assigned to Argentina's games. That ruled out Michael Oliver and Anthony Taylor, two of the tournament's highest-rated officials, from either semi-final once England qualified. Oliver had already refereed 4 matches and was widely considered a leading candidate for the World Cup final. Reports claimed the decision also cost him a substantial performance bonus, bringing his tournament to an unexpected end. FIFA instead selected Ismail Elfath, a Moroccan-born American referee who has worked in Major League Soccer since 2012. His experience included officiating the 2022 MLS Cup and serving as the 4th official during the 2022 World Cup final between Argentina and France. Soon after FIFA confirmed the appointment, social media exploded with discussions over one statistic that many England supporters found difficult to ignore. The referee conversation intensified as fans dug deeper into the numbers. Since Lionel Messi arrived in Major League Soccer in 2023, Ismail Elfath had officiated 5 of his matches and Messi's team had won every single one. Combined with Elfath's role as 4th official during the 2022 World Cup final, many online quickly created their own narrative. Whenever Elfath was involved, Messi had never ended up on the losing side. Some critics also pointed to previous moments from Elfath's MLS career. Nashville supporters questioned a controversial yellow card during the 2023 League's Cup final. Thus, and that grasp slipped away as Argentina fought back to beat Thomas Tuchel's side 2-1. It was a horrible, frustrating first half. Meanwhile, some Orlando City supporters argued that a red card shown to one of their young players in March 2026, following a challenge on Messi, was far too harsh. Those incidents became part of a much larger online debate, with some fans claiming Elfath offered extra protection to Inter Miami's biggest star. It is important to separate speculation from fact. There is no credible evidence that Ismail Elfath favors Messi or Argentina. Referees do not choose which matches they officiate, and statistics alone are not proof of bias. Even so, the debate continued to grow, and by July 2026, the conversation surrounding Argentina's World Cup campaign had reached another level. That was because this semi-final was far from the first time Argentina had found themselves at the center of refereeing controversy. During the group stage match against Algeria, many observers argued that Messi's challenge on defender Aissa Mandi, which appeared to catch his calf and Achilles, could have justified a red card under the current laws of the game. VAR reviewed the incident but decided no further action was necessary. Messi stayed on the pitch and later produced a brilliant hat-trick. After the match, the Algerian Football Federation submitted an official complaint to FIFA regarding the refereeing decisions, ensuring the controversy continued long after the final whistle. The criticism became even louder during the round of 16 against Egypt. Egypt led 2-0 in the second half and believed they had scored a 3rd goal, only for VAR to disallow it after identifying a foul earlier in the build-up. Later, as Argentina searched for an equalizer, Egyptian players appealed for a penalty, following an apparent challenge on Mohamed Salah, but play was allowed to continue without an on-field review. Argentina completed an astonishing comeback and advanced. After the match, Egypt coach Hossam Hassan suggested that several refereeing decisions had favored the defending champions. Other Egyptian football figures also voiced strong criticism, with some even claiming the tournament had worked against them. By the quarter-finals, social media had given the controversy a name that spread across the football world: Argentina. Supporters used the nickname whenever a close VAR decision appeared to benefit Argentina or another review sparked fresh debate. For many online, it became part of a wider theory that FIFA wanted Messi to reach another World Cup final because of the global story it would create. Those accusations attracted huge attention, but they were never backed by credible evidence. As a result, the atmosphere surrounding this semi-final was already incredibly tense before the first whistle. FIFA's appointment of Ismail Elfath became yet another major talking point because many supporters focused on his record in matches involving Messi. The statistic fueled endless discussion before kickoff. Even though it offered no proof of favoritism, it was against that backdrop that England walked onto the pitch in Atlanta to face Argentina. England's road under Thomas Tuchel had been anything but straightforward. They opened the tournament with an impressive 4-2 victory over Croatia, but consistency soon became a concern. A draw with Ghana followed, along with a narrow win against Panama that left supporters wanting more. In the round of 32, England even trailed DR Congo before Harry Kane struck twice late in the game to complete a dramatic 2-1 comeback. The real turning point arrived against Mexico at the Estadio Azteca, the legendary stadium where Diego Maradona had broken English hearts in 1986. This time, however, history unfolded differently. England ended Mexico's unbeaten World Cup record at the iconic venue with a dramatic 3-2 victory, powered by a brilliant brace from Jude Bellingham. But the triumph came with a setback, as defender Jarell Quansah received a red card and was ruled out of the semi-final through suspension. The quarter-final against Norway was another exhausting battle. England were pushed into extra time before Bellingham delivered once again, scoring twice, including the decisive winner, to seal a hard-fought 2-1 victory in the intense Miami heat. With every knockout match, he looked more like the heartbeat of the team, producing decisive moments whenever England needed them most. Even after reaching the Final Four, signs of tension began to emerge behind the scenes. Following the Norway victory, Tuchel admitted his side had been fortunate to progress and criticised their performance, calling it sloppy, slow, and filled with technical mistakes. Reports claimed Bellingham was caught off guard by those remarks. The pair had already experienced public disagreements earlier in Tuchel's reign, when the manager openly discussed Bellingham's reaction after being substituted. As England prepared for the biggest game of their campaign, questions lingered over whether the entire squad was truly united. While England's road to Atlanta was packed with narrow escapes, Argentina's journey proved equally dramatic. They cruised through the group stage with 3 consecutive victories, although their opening win over Algeria sparked heated debate over several refereeing decisions as Lionel Messi scored a hat-trick. From there, every knockout match became a survival test. Cape Verde forced Argentina into extra time before eventually falling 3-2, while Egypt raced into a 2-0 lead only for Argentina to stage a stunning comeback and keep their World Cup dream alive. For much of their quarter-final against Switzerland, Argentina struggled to find a breakthrough. The match remained level until the 72nd minute, when Breel Embolo was shown a red card. Even with the numerical advantage, Argentina had to wait until deep into extra time, before Julian Alvarez finally broke the deadlock. Lautaro Martinez then added another goal to seal a 3-1 victory. It was far from their most convincing display, yet Argentina once again discovered a way to survive. By the time they reached the semi-final, they had already scored 9 goals after the 75th minute, more than any other team in the tournament. Time after time, they stayed in contention before taking control when opponents began to tire. At the center of that resilience was Lionel Messi. At 39 years old, he had already scored 8 goals and was tied as the tournament's leading scorer. Fans also spotted an interesting coincidence before the semi-final. Argentina chose to wear their dark blue away kit in Atlanta, the same color they wore against England in the unforgettable 1986 World Cup quarter-final, and again in 1998 when they knocked England out on penalties. Before kickoff, reporters asked Thomas Tuchel whether he had noticed the connection. He smiled and admitted he had not. Tuchel added that if there was any superstition behind the decision, he probably would have done exactly the same. Credit to them, he said. Even so, many England supporters could not help noticing the striking similarity. On July 15th, more than 70,000 fans packed Atlanta Stadium for one of the biggest matches of the tournament. A place in the World Cup final against Spain was on the line. Everything was set for a memorable showdown, but the opening stages resembled a fierce battle more than a flowing football match. The first half quickly became physical. Players from both sides collided in heavy challenges, surrounded the referee with appeals, and constantly interrupted the rhythm of the game. Several tackles left players on the ground, with both teams demanding fouls and disciplinary action. Some challenges looked serious enough that another referee might have reached for a yellow card. Instead, Ismail El Fath chose to let the game continue whenever possible, and his approach immediately divided opinion. Some praised him for allowing the match to flow without endless bookings, while others believed the lack of early discipline only encouraged even more aggressive challenges. Neither side managed to establish any real rhythm. Promising attacks ended almost as soon as they began, and both defenses stayed in control. By halftime, the scoreboard still read 0-0, with the tension inside the stadium growing stronger every minute as everyone waited for the breakthrough. That breakthrough finally arrived 10 minutes into the second half. In the 55th minute, Morgan Rogers lifted his head on the right flank and delivered a perfectly weighted cross into the penalty area. Anthony Gordon timed his run to perfection, met the ball at the far post, and fired beyond Emiliano Martinez. England finally had the goal they had worked so hard for. With the score at 1-0, they were only 35 minutes away from reaching their first World Cup final in decades. But almost immediately after taking the lead, the momentum began to shift. Surprisingly, it was England, not Argentina, who changed the pattern of the game. Rather than searching for a second goal, Thomas Tuchel's side slowly retreated into a deeper defensive shape and invited pressure from the reigning world champions. The substitutions made the plan obvious. Reece James left the pitch. Declan Rice, one of the world's best defensive midfielders, was also withdrawn, while Dan Burn and another defensive option, Nico O'Reilly, were introduced. England decided to defend their narrow advantage instead of continuing to attack. That tactical decision quickly became one of the biggest talking points of the night. Many questioned whether sitting back against an Argentina team, famous for dramatic late comebacks, was the right approach. Argentina had already rescued difficult matches throughout the tournament. Cape Verde had pushed them close before fading away. Egypt had let a 2-goal advantage slip. Again and again, Argentina found another gear late in games, and now they had more than half an hour to chase another comeback. With nothing left to lose, they pushed forward relentlessly. The pressure grew with every attack. Alexis McAllister climbed highest to meet a cross and powered a header against the inside of the post. For a split second, England feared the worst, but the ball bounced back into play instead of crossing the line. The warning signs became impossible to ignore. England were forced deeper and deeper into their own half, spending almost every minute defending. Jordan Pickford's distribution suffered under constant pressure, with several long clearances going straight back to Argentina. The attacking threat England had shown earlier almost disappeared completely. By the final whistle, the numbers reflected the balance of play. England registered only 5 shots with an expected goals figure of 0.53, while Argentina produced 15 attempts and an expected goals total of 184. Whatever opinions existed about the officiating or the events leading into the match, Argentina had created far more opportunities across the 90 minutes. Then, in the 85th minute, their relentless pressure finally produced the moment they had been searching for. Enzo Fernandez unleashed a powerful strike from outside the box, forcing Jordan Pickford into a brilliant save that tipped the ball over the crossbar. England survived the first scare, but only for a few seconds. From the resulting corner, possession eventually fell to Lionel Messi just outside the penalty area. As several defenders rushed toward him, Messi stayed composed and slipped a perfectly timed pass to Fernandez on the edge of the box. With one smooth touch, the midfielder bent a stunning, left-footed effort through a crowd of players and beyond. Pickford into the bottom corner. The score was now 1-1, and in an instant, the entire momentum of the match belonged to Argentina. England suddenly looked shaken, while Argentina sensed that another dramatic comeback was within reach. Fans had already watched this team rescue games against Cape Verde, Egypt and Switzerland. Once Argentina found a late equalizer, they rarely stopped pushing forward until the very last whistle. As extra time seemed only moments away, one final move changed the entire story. Deep into second-half stoppage time, Messi drifted into space on the right wing as England's exhausted defenders struggled to close him down. He lifted his head for a brief moment, before delivering a perfectly weighted cross into the penalty area. Lautaro Martinez timed his run to perfection, slipped between the defenders, and guided a precise header beyond Jordan Pickford. Argentina had turned the game around, leading 2-1 in the 92nd minute, while England's dream of reaching the World Cup final was slipping away. The final moments quickly became tense. Jude Bellingham brought Messi down deep inside England's half, sparking another confrontation in a match already filled with emotion. Soon afterward, Emiliano Martinez calmly claimed England's final hopeful ball, stayed on the ground for a few seconds, and helped run down the remaining time. When referee Ismail Elfath finally blew for full time, Argentina's players celebrated wildly, while England's squad stood frozen in disbelief. Argentina moved one step away from becoming the first nation since Brazil in 1958 and 1962 to win back-to-back Men's World Cups. England, meanwhile, faced the disappointment of preparing for a third-place playoff against France as their wait for another major trophy since 1966 would continue. Looking back at the semi-final, one player stood at the center of nearly every decisive moment. Lionel Messi never found the scoresheet, but he did not need to. His two late assists completely transformed the match, and once again highlighted his incredible vision. For Argentina's equalizer, England's defenders instinctively closed him down, creating the space Enzo Fernandez needed. Minutes later, the same thing happened again. As defenders focused on Messi, Lautaro Martinez found the opening to attack the cross and score the winner. At 39 years old, Messi no longer relied on pace to influence games. Instead, his awareness, timing, and decision-making continued to decide matches at the highest level. Football's biggest moments often come from the smallest lapses in concentration, and Messi has built his career on recognizing those tiny openings before anyone else. England experienced exactly that during the closing minutes. Thomas Tuchel's substitutions also became one of the biggest talking points after the match. Replacing Declan Rice and Reece James with two taller defenders showed that England's main objective had become protecting their lead. Many questioned that decision afterward. Rice offered far more than defensive strength. He could keep possession, ease the pressure, and help England move higher up the pitch. Once he left the field, Argentina found it much easier to keep England pinned deep inside their own half. Dan Burn and Nico Riley added extra height at the back, but England struggled to regain possession or create meaningful attacks. Instead of controlling the tempo with the ball, they spent long periods desperately defending. That tactical shift became one of the defining debates following the semi-final. England also finished with an expected goals figure of just 0.53, an unusually low number for a World Cup semi-final. Anthony Gordon finished his chance brilliantly. Morgan Rogers created England's breakthrough, and Jed Spence earned widespread praise for an outstanding display. Even so, Harry Kane rarely received the ball in dangerous areas, while Jude Bellingham had little influence because England spent so much time defending. It is extremely difficult to control a knockout match when possession is almost entirely handed to the opposition. The final stretch perfectly reflected the identity of both teams. For more than 35 minutes, England defended almost non-stop, while Argentina remained patient and waited for the opportunity they believed would eventually arrive. That patience had become one of Lionel Scaloni's team's greatest strengths throughout the tournament. Their performances were not always dominant, but they consistently finished matches stronger than their opponents. By the end of the semi-final, Argentina had scored 10 goals after the 75th minute, more than any other nation in the competition. Fresh substitutes added energy. Messi carefully managed his workload, and the team continued attacking until the final whistle. There was also a psychological factor. Opponents had already watched Argentina stage dramatic comebacks against Egypt and Switzerland, making every late attack feel even more dangerous. Once Enzo Fernandez equalized in the 85th minute, many believed the momentum had completely changed, and England suddenly looked like a team trying to survive instead of one expecting to win. The referee also remained a major talking point. Ismail Elfath did not make one single match-defining decision such as a controversial penalty or obvious red card. Instead, debate focused on his overall style of officiating. He allowed several physical challenges to go unpunished early in the game, dividing opinion among supporters. Some England fans believed the lenient approach favored Argentina's physical play and that stronger action should have been taken against time management late on. Argentina supporters argued the opposite, pointing out that Messi himself received several heavy challenges throughout the match. Beyond the game itself, discussions also returned to the wider tournament. Algeria had already submitted an official complaint after the group stage. Egyptian football figures criticized the officiating in their knockout defeat, and the nickname VARgentina continued spreading across social media. Many also highlighted Elfath's unbeaten record in matches involving Messi. For some, it fueled further suspicion. For others, It remained nothing more than an interesting statistic without evidence of bias. Looking only at the football, Argentina created the better chances, controlled the closing stages, struck the post, and stayed composed when the pressure was greatest. England defended courageously, but once they retreated too deep, Argentina gradually took complete control. The winning goal captured that difference perfectly. Messi's vision unlocked the defense, and Lautaro Martinez provided the finish expected from an elite striker. Argentina's journey had not always been convincing, but reaching consecutive World Cup finals required resilience, quality, and the ability to deliver when it mattered most. That is why England against Argentina remains one of football's greatest rivalries, adding another unforgettable chapter to a history shaped by 1966, Maradona in 1986, and David Beckham's red card in 1998. The 2026 semi-final became another unforgettable story, with England leading for 85 minutes, before everything changed in the final 7. As the debate over the referee continued, attention now shifted toward the biggest match of all. At New York, New Jersey Stadium, Argentina would face Spain in the 2026 FIFA World Cup final. The final is now set, and it will bring together Lionel Messi and Lamine Yamal for the very first time on football's biggest stage. Many already see Yamal as the leading star of the next generation, while Messi has one more opportunity to add another unforgettable chapter to his legendary career. He also has the chance to lead Argentina to back-to-back World Cup titles, something no men's national team has achieved since Brazil accomplished it in 1958 and 1962, however you judge Argentina's road to this point. The football world is now waiting for one of the greatest finals imaginable. For England, the journey is not over, but the dream certainly is. They must now prepare for a third-place playoff against France before returning home, where difficult questions will dominate every discussion. Thomas Tuchel's substitutions will be examined repeatedly. His decision to sit deeper after taking the lead will be debated for years, as supporters wonder whether continuing to attack could have changed everything. When the next World Cup arrives in 2030, Jude Bellingham will be 27, right in the middle of what should be the finest years of his career. Harry Kane, however, will be 36, and another opportunity to lift football's greatest trophy may never come. England's painful wait for another major international title goes on. 60 years. Without success became 64 the moment Lautaro Martinez's decisive header found the back of the net. Years from now, that single moment may be remembered more than the referee controversy, the endless online debates, or even the tactical decisions. England reached the edge of history but focused on protecting their advantage. Argentina, once again staring at elimination, stayed true to the fearless mentality that had carried them through the tournament. One team tried to defend the result, while the other kept believing there was still time to win. Messi finally faced the last major football nation missing from his international resume and played a decisive role without scoring himself. Now only one obstacle remains between him and even greater football history. If you enjoyed this documentary and want more football stories, tactical breakdowns, legendary rivalries, and unforgettable moments, be sure to like the video, subscribe to Machio, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Every week we bring you in-depth football documentaries, iconic moments, and the stories behind the game's biggest